This is the Journey Podcast Edition. If what you're building didn't come with a playbook, you're in the right place.
Welcome back to the Journey Podcast Edition. I'm your host, Paul, and today we are going to be diving into one of the marketing world's longest-running feuds. It's the kind of argument that's ruined friendships, broken group projects, made entire Slack channels just weep or groan. Not really, but I am talking about models. The flywheel versus the funnel. Two models, two metaphors, two completely different shapes that have somehow come to represent how we think about growth. And honestly, they've both been unfairly maligned and unfairly worshipped. So today's story is about perspective, integration, and what happens when you stop treating frameworks like they're teams and start treating them like they're tools. Picture this. Two kids in the backseat of a car screaming at each other. Your model's crap. No, your model's crap. And from the front seat, you got a tired parent who finally snaps and says, if you both don't simmer down, I'm going to turn this car around, and then both of your models will be crap. It's funny because it's true. That's exactly how most marketing debates sound. One side swears the funnel is dead, too linear, too transactional, too old school. The other side insists that the flywheel is just marketing fluff, an overhyped loop drawn by consultants who never sold anything in their lives. And meanwhile, somewhere between those two sides, teams, rests reality and some really useful stuff. Because like most things in business, the truth is not binary. You don't need to choose sides. In fact, if you're building something from the ground up, choosing sides is probably the wrong move. Let's rewind a bit. If we take a step back and we look at where this argument came from for a minute, the marketing funnel, it's been around for more than a century. Though it started as a sales funnel, the idea came from the sales world back when door-to-door salesmen needed a way to visualize the customer journey. You start wide at the top with awareness. You narrow down as people consider your product, compare alternatives, and finally, if you've done your job right, convert to a sale at the very bottom of the funnel. It's tidy, it's measurable, and for a long time it worked beautifully. It still does. But cracks begin to show a little bit when you're too absolutist about things like this. Funnels are built for transactions. They're not built for relationships. They're designed for a single linear journey. One purchase, not a loop, not a long-term thing that churns up and harvests residual value. Once a prospect converts, they fall out the bottom, and they're done. The funnel's job is over. That's it. You, the marketer or the founder, you start over again then. You go back to the top, refill the funnel, and do the whole thing once more. If you've ever run a small business, you know how exhausting that can be. Every sale feels like you climb up a mountain. Every customer disappears the moment you stop shouting. The funnel creates focus, but it does not create momentum that lasts. So now, how about we enter the flywheel? The flywheel and things like it, they came along to fix that idea that a funnel was too linear. If the funnel is a line, the flywheel is a loop. Instead of ending at conversion, it keeps going, spinning, compounding, building energy. Every sale feeds back into the system, whether it's a sale that's made or a sale that was lost. Every happy customer that ends up in the flywheel and is retained as a happy customer adds torque. Just like in physics, the more mass and balance your flywheel has, the easier it becomes to keep it turning with less effort. In marketing terms, that means retention, loyalty, and advocacy. At its simplest, the flywheel has 4 stages, the model that I use anyway. Attract, convert, retain, and create. You attract new people into your orbit with marketing and storytelling. You convert them into customers with trust, clarity, and irresistible offers. You retain their attention through value, service, and communication. You build loyalty here as well. And ultimately, you create advocates. From those loyal customers, some of them will be happy to bring their friends along for the ride. In theory, it's beautiful. Perpetual motion for business, right? But it also has a weakness. The flywheel doesn't tell you what to do in each stage. It's a high-level philosophy, not a playbook. You can have a great loop spinning in the abstract and still struggle to actually close deals. Eventually, you do need a funnel inside the stages of your flywheel to convert attention into action. So let's take these two concepts and kind of smush them together. Let's call it a funwheel or something if we really need to. Bit cheeky, I know. If the funnel gives you focus and the flywheel gives you flow, what happens when you combine those two things? You get the funwheel. You take those two concepts, you put them together into something more useful. Each stage of your flywheel, whether it's attract, convert, retain, create, can contain smaller funnels inside them that are linear and very purpose-based. Each one guides your audience toward a specific outcome. For example, in the attract stage of the flywheel, your mini funnel moves people from kind of unaware to curious. In convert, you then guide them from curious to convinced. That's where they buy something. In retain, you shift them from buyer to believer. You create longer-term loyalty. You nurture that relationship. And in create, you nurture those people who believe in what you're doing into advocates that talk to other people about it. This isn't about choosing one metaphor, flywheel or funnel. It's about using both at the right scale and in the right way for your business. The funnel gives you precision. The flywheel gives you perpetual motion or endurance. Together, they make your marketing machine unstoppable, especially when it's designed to be a self-reinforcing system, like we talked about a few weeks ago. Now, making this more concrete, let's throw a real-world example. Imagine you own a small coffee shop in a lakeside town. Let's call it the Grand Bend Coffee Company, just because. You've got a few tables, a strong espresso machine, and a loyal summer crowd. Tourist area, right? They come in, they hang out, they have fun, they go out, they come back next season. Your funnel starts when you attract attention. Maybe it's a local radio spot, sponsorship read, geo-targeted ad on the Spotify, ad network, whatever. There's lots of ways to attract awareness initially. But then people hear your name in town, curiosity starts brewing, that's some awareness. They walk past your cafe, peek inside, they see fresh muffins glowing under the counter lights, that's consideration. They step in and buy a muffin, maybe a coffee too, that's conversion. Job's done, right? No, not quite. If we take this kind of experience, this linear flow, and apply the flywheel concept to it, this is where it really kind of kicks in. So that person who bought something, you hand them a receipt that says, hey, sign up for our Morning Brew Club loyalty program and get 10% off your next purchase. You remember their name. You ask how their weekend was. You feature photos of loyal customers on your Instagram feed. Suddenly, it's not just a transaction anymore. You're building relationships with these customers, building loyalty. A few weeks later, they might bring a friend. That's advocacy, especially if you've asked them to bring a friend and provided some incentive to do so. Then maybe they post a selfie with your latte art. That's organic promotion. And just like that, your flywheel, it's spinning, right? With every small human touch, adding a little bit of more energy to the momentum of the wheel. The next time tourist season rolls around, you're not rebuilding from zero. You're riding the inertia that you built last summer, as some people will come again because you made that effort to build a relationship. The beautiful thing about the flywheel model is that it kind of borrows from real world physics. A flywheel stores rotational energy. That's how it works. The more mass and momentum it gains, the harder it is to stop, and the less input you need to keep it moving. That's exactly how building brand equity works, and the value that brand equity delivers to your business over the long term. Every delighted customer, every glowing review, every moment of follow-up, it adds to your brand's mass within that flywheel. And that mass becomes leverage. You don't need to spend as much money to attract new customers because your past success keeps doing some of the work for you. That's compounding. That's efficiency. That's the long-term advantage for builders who think through that lens and play the long game. But here's the thing, momentum, it can't be faked. If your business doesn't deliver genuine value, your flywheel grinds to a halt. The trick isn't to hack momentum, it's to earn it. Consistency is that fuel. Customer delight is the torque. When you connect those two, everything else starts getting a lot easier. So what's your edge? Big companies, they've got funnels all over the place. Small builders like you, it's got flywheels. That's really your advantage. When you're a small or a growing business, you can pivot quickly. You can experiment without approval from 3 layers of management, right? Like you have agency. You own your own destiny. You can test, you can learn, and you can improve. You can actually talk to your customers. Crazy concept, right? That's what turns a funnel into a flywheel. Human feedback. If you're listening closely to your audience of customers, your prospects, you're not just pushing people down a path. You're co-creating the experience that they want with them. That's how sustainable systems start to emerge. That's how small companies quietly outgrow and outcompete bigger ones. So let's talk about systems that reinforce themselves a little bit. Zooming out for a sec. When we talk about marketing systems that work, what we really mean is activities and systems that reinforce themselves. A good funnel drives sales. A great funnel compounds trust. When you combine them, you build resilience. It's the difference between sprinting and cycling. Funnels are a sprint. You put in effort, you get results, and then you rest or you burn out. Flywheels are a ride, assisted by something. Once you're moving, each pedal stroke takes you further with less strain. So if you're building something new, whether it's a business, a personal brand, or a community, your job is to design a system that converts and compounds over time. You want short-term results and long-term acceleration. And that's what the funwheel gives you. This is where mindset also kind of comes into play. Because underneath all of the diagrams and the jargon and stuff, both models share one thing. They describe how people make decisions. People don't move in straight lines, right? They loop, they revisit, they hesitate, they get distracted, they come back, they change their mind. Maybe in 3 months they buy because something you finally said stuck. That's human. So if your marketing model doesn't account for human behavior, it's not a model, it's kind of a fantasy. Funnels work best when they guide that messy process with empathy and clarity. Flywheels work best when they make it easy for people to stay connected, even after they've bought something. When you combine both, your business starts to behave less like a machine that needs constant attention and more like an ecosystem that at least partly drives itself. So what's the moral of this kind of marketing fable that we've talked about? Simple. Stop arguing about whether A or B will work. Use them both. Figure out how they can work together. Funnel gives you direction. The flywheel gives you durability. Together, they help you build momentum that lasts. Because the real challenge of building isn't getting something started. It's keeping it going. And if you can build systems that store energy rather than only consuming it, you'll grow faster and last longer than anyone who is stuck in a loop, rebuilding and refilling their funnel from scratch every quarter. So go ahead, experiment. Build this thing that combines the flywheel and the funnel. Give your business something worth spinning. And hey, maybe draw it in a Google Draw like I did. Doesn't have to be pretty, just has to work. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, check out the companion post. I doodled, and fair warning, I am not an artist. Thanks for joining me. That's this episode of the Journey Podcast Edition. If you found this interesting or useful, go hit that companion post. There's, along with the little doodle that I talked about, there's also kind of a planning tool, a template that you can download to start kind of like working your way through your own funwheel. It's in the show notes, the link. And as always, if you know a fellow builder who's in the trenches figuring out their marketing and all their other stuff, share this with them. Momentum is contagious. We'll see you next time.
And that's it for this episode of the Journey Podcast Edition. If you're building something from scratch or scaling something messy, make sure to follow, share, or just send this to someone else in the trenches. Until next time, keep climbing.